Welcome back to Warcat Combat, and today in my copycat series I'm going to show you how you can copy or mimic the style of an outboxer. So what's an outboxer? It literally is a fighter who likes to fight from the outside. They pick apart their opponents. They tend to use their reach or their ability to move on the outside to pick apart their opponents. Now, what makes me qualified to show you how to be an outboxer? Well, seeing as I'm 6'5", I am more than qualified to show how my reach can beat most of my opponents. I'm not 6'5". The Rock is 6'5" though. I get us mixed up sometimes. But speaking of The Rock, the movie The Rundown, there's a scene where he explains why he thinks Muhammad Ali beats Mike Tyson in a fight. And he talks about his ability to use his jab and fight from the outside. And that's the theme we're going to do today. We're going to work on how we can beat a pressure fighter from the outside, or how to be able to circle out and move and be in prime position to beat our opponents by using movement and your long range of tools. And if you're an outboxer or you want to improve your outboxing game, I have 3 simple drills or simple concepts that you should be using to make yourself a better outboxer. And if you're interested and want to know what style of fighter you are, stick to the end and I'll show you a link from my previous video where we do a quiz and figure out what your fighting style may be. So let's get on with this. Let's show you some drills on how to become a better outboxer. So as usual, the drills or concepts I'll show you today are things you can practice alone. You don't need a partner. So the first concept that we're going to cover is tools. What tools do you have in your arsenal that gives you an advantage as an outboxer? Now, I joked earlier, I'm not 6'5" like The Rock, but I do have a long reach for my height. I kind of feel like Dawson from Street Fighter. And I'll use that to my advantage if I want to be an outboxer. So how I do that is I want to be able to use my tools. In this case, my primary tool that I'm going to gauge distance with my opponent is my jab. The fundamental jab, and how we use it is we're going to use it as our measuring tool. I want to be at the best distance that I feel I can land my punch, where I also feel safe that I won't be hit back. If I can touch the bag with my fingers in my fighting stance, I can hit it. My fist is clenched here, I'm not touching the bag. But when I commit, I'll land it. So if you have proper form and you can touch the bag, you can hit the bag at that optimal distance. So being able to hit that jab from that distance is crucial. You apply that same concept for kicks. With long range kicks, I can step back because kicks have a better reach. Unless you're built like Johnny Bravo. Find the distance that you can land that kick, but at a safe distance that you feel that you'd be at least able to get away if the person counterattacks you. So the next concept we're going to cover now is distance management. And this ties in directly with the tool development that we did earlier. Now, what I mean by distance management is we're going to adopt a long guard. Now that we know how to measure distance with our tools, we're going to manage the distance by using this long guard where I adopt this stance where my lead hand is forward. I'm just using this position to gauge distance, and this allows me to measure without actually hitting. This requires some endurance as your arm could get tired by being extended out, but it's a great tool to use or a great concept to use if you want to prevent your opponents from closing the gap in on you and getting in close, especially for those pesky pressure fighters. So once you learn how to adopt that long guard, you want to use that in conjunction with footwork. And you're going to want to master the half step, whether you're half stepping forward or half stepping back. I've covered the half step in a previous video, so if you stick to the end, I'll link that video. But in short, what you're going to do is you want to take a half step in or a half step out. This is another way of managing distance, because then you can use this as a feint to get in, or you can use it to bait your opponent to commit forward while you can pull back and maybe throw your shots from there. But do this with the long guard and it makes it even better. You will bait them in, but you have this obstacle at the same time. So once they come back in, you can counter with your jab. So those long range tools that you have in your arsenal. If you're in kickboxing, you can do the same thing. Bait, and then as they come forward, you push them with your kick. So the last concept we want to cover is footwork and being able to circle out. Now we touched a little bit on the footwork with the half step earlier, but we also want to be able to work off of angles. And a real good outboxer is going to fight you from the outside. And to fight from the outside, you need to be able to step out on angles. Muhammad Ali was great at this. He had fantastic footwork. Now, I'm not going to show you how to move like Muhammad Ali. Forget you saw that. But what we can be inspired by Muhammad Ali is his ability to move and hit and move. But we are going to do this on an angle and step out. So what we want to be able to do, very simple drill, is we're going to jab and circle out. I throw my jab and I circle out. Notice I'm pivoting. So we're going to do this using the clock system. I'm going to pivot out at 10 o'clock. So my lead foot is going to go out at 10 o'clock and then I'm going to pivot out here. This way I circle out on an angle. We practice the 10 o'clock step and I'm pivoting off of this foot and my right foot circles back. This way I'm on the outside of my opponent. If you're southpaw, it's the opposite. You go at 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock, circle out. But now you do it in conjunction with the jab. So you want to throw your jab, step, circle out. Jab, step, circle out. Practice this. You can practice both sides too. You can actually do it on the other side. You can go at 2 o'clock, but it will be your rear foot getting you there. So I'm going to jab, step out. Just make sure you don't cross your feet. That way you don't stumble on your footwork. So a little tip that goes along with that is imagine that your jab is helping you move there. My jab and then pulls, and then I just make sure I add that circle out. Works even better if you actually land your target. So if you punch your opponent, if you actually land your punch on your opponent, it actually almost recoils you into that position. So try to adopt that. And once you've grasped all three concepts, you do the fun part. You work it on the bag. So I know how to use my tools to measure distance, and I know how to manage my distance with my long guard and positioning and footwork. And then I know how to circle out, so I can put it all together. I work my jab, I work my long guard to manage my distance with my half steps, and I learn to circle out. Jab, circle out, find my range. And as you progress and as you get better at managing your distance with just using your jab or your long range kicks, then I can throw in the other stuff. I use my combination. So I will adopt that long guard, jab, then I jab cross, and I pull right back out. And notice I use that same concept that I showed earlier where I used my punch to help me pull away, and I'm also circling out, but it gives me a safe distance from being counterattacked. So let's do a quick recap of the three concepts that we covered. First, we did tools and how to use our tools to measure distance. Then we did distance management with our positioning and footwork. And then we used circling out and angles to get in a better position to fight on the outside of our opponents. I hope you enjoyed this video on how to become a better outboxer. And if there's a style you'd like me to cover next, please drop it in the comments. Maybe pressure fighter, maybe a brawler. You let me know. And if you haven't yet, please don't forget, hit subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I can make more content just like this for you. And a reminder, if you want to see that video where you can find out what style you are, click that link over here. And if you want to see the video where I talk about the half step a little more in detail, check that video over here. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.